All right, folks, this morning, President Biden going on the offensive, releasing a 2-page letter. A lot of good parts in this, but this is what really caught my eye. This was a process open to anyone who wanted to run. Only 3 people chose to challenge me. One fared so badly, he left the primaries to run as an independent. I think he was pushed out, but another attacked me for being too old and was soundly defeated. The voters of the Democratic Party have voted. They have chosen me to be the nominee of the party. Do we now just say this process didn't matter, that the voters do not have a say? This is really interesting. This is, of course, a letter that Joe Biden wrote to fellow Democrats this morning. So he releases that letter, and what happens 30 minutes later on the betting polls, his numbers skyrocket, right? This is Biden perhaps being a Democrat nominee. Of course, my next guest, he notes this betting stuff. This is one of his charts, in fact, better than anyone else out there. And I want to bring him in now because he's got a great pulse on the finger and the gauges of this election. Bianco Research President Jim Bianco. Jim, you know, nice looking spike here. What does it mean, though? I mean, does it mean all is well, or is this just a moment in time?
It's probably a moment in time. A quick word about the betting markets. Think about like football betting. It's the point spread is all it is. Point spreads can be wrong and the betting markets can be wrong, but they tell you what the consensus thinking is right now is. And Joe Biden was 40%, less than 50% to get the nomination this morning before the letter came out. And now he's around 53%. To just put that in context, Donald Trump is trading 97% to get the Republican nomination. So Joe Biden is in the middle of a nomination fight in the middle of July is where he is right now. And the betting markets are telling you he's the slimmest of favorites because he's the slimmest above 50%. And he's only been there for about an hour or two right now.
In the meantime, VP Harris, who in January was down, around 5%, now it's more or less neck and neck again. Coming into this morning, more and more neck and neck with President Biden. We're hearing talk of other folks out there, but essentially, do you feel from the betting market's perspective, it would be one or the other?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because if you added up the probabilities between Biden and Harris, you get to about 80, 85%. The other 15% is spread over Gavin Newsom, Gretchen Whitmer, Michelle Obama. So they're trading down in the 8 to 5% range or so. So the thinking is that it's either going to be Biden or it's going to be Harris. And this situation, why we're following the betting markets is this situation is so fluid and moves so fast, we can't wait for the polls. The polls take 10 days to 2 weeks, and this is a world in this environment. So this is a very fluid situation. The betting markets are here. He might give another speech. There might be another letter. There might be another important Democrat that says something, and that could change them all again in a different way.
The globalists are up in arms over President Trump's talk of mass deportations, tariffs. This is from Adam Posen's shop. They say if you elect President Trump, prices are going to go up. This is 2024. The prices will go up. And that real GDP will go down. By the way, this is only with 1.3 million folks deported. If we deport 7 million, the economy completely implodes. But, Jim, on the other hand, this is what people remember. People remember that inflation was non-existent, right? There was just no one ever thought about inflation. And in real terms, adjusted for inflation, they did much better under President Trump. So this is what households remember. Wall Street, the globalists putting out a different statement. How do folks out there know the truth?
Well, it is a difficult one because we're talking about complicated numbers, but really it comes down to one thing. If people are spending, and let's add government into that spending, then you're going to see upward movements in prices. That's what we saw in 22. In 2021, to put it in the vernacular, we mailed people money. And then are we surprised that they spent that money and we had inflation in 2022? Well, in 2024, the people that are spending is the government at 22% of GDP. It's one of the highest numbers we've seen other than COVID and World War II in 200 years. If the government keeps spending at those levels, it's going to keep inflation sticky. As far as the migrants and that you were referring to, most of them are unemployed. And the reason they're unemployed is they don't have a Social Security number and they don't have a work permit. And if you don't have one or the other, you cannot get, let's call it a W-2 job, because you need one of those for tax withholdings. So they have under the table jobs, but there isn't 10 million under the table jobs for unskilled workers in this country. So most of them are unemployed. So if you're going to be deporting them, you're going to be deporting unemployed people. I don't see how that's going to be a big drag on the economy.
Wow. Jim, you're the man. I'm telling you, when it comes to this, I always go to you first. Hope you had a great Fourth. Talk to you again soon, my friend. All right, folks, drum roll. The town hall.